Hey, welcome to the second lab of my Docker series. The plan for this Docker series is to start at base zero, which was installing Docker, which we did, and now learn a little more about Docker and grow the skill level after each individual lab. So today, we're going to create our first container, and the first step is to make sure Docker is loaded. One way you can do that is if you come down to the little ampersand and you'll see Docker and it's not here. So that means I need to go over here and start it up. And when that's going, you will see a little whale with little bars coming up. I'm going to close that. Looks like a new version of Docker is available. I'm going to skip that for now. And perhaps the end of this lab or the beginning of the next one will update. But here you can see pretty nice explanation of what it's going to do for you. And some nice stuff here. We're going to update Kubernetes. Yeah, interestingly, you can run Kubernetes on Docker now. Get a little kind of like a mini cube, one node Kubernetes environment. Pretty cool for learning. And other things update. So we're going to close that for now. Wait for our Docker to load. And you can see as soon as when you see this stops, you know it started. While that's running, let's talk a little about Docker images. And a Docker image is where it makes a container. So Docker uses images, like I just said, to start a new container or create a container. An image, interesting, contains all the software you need to run within the container, which is really, really cool about containers. These images, these container images, can be stored locally on your machine, as well as in a container registry. And we'll be using a public registry. And the most very popular one is the public Docker Hub at hub.docker.com. You can also use a private registry. And if you take in any of my Kubernetes labs, we use the ACR or the Azure Container Registry. If you don't have an image locally on your PC, you will pull an image from a registry using a Docker pull command. And you can see it looks like my Docker is fully running. So I'm going to go ahead and start up my PowerShell. I must have typed in something goofy. I'm going to POWER. I want the ISE and run as administrator. All right, let's see. I think let's see if I can figure out quickly. Options. And I'm going to try to make the font just a little bigger so it's a little easier to read. All right, make this full screen there. Looking pretty good there. So the first we want to do in our first lab is we're going to pull an image from the public Docker Hub and run the actual container. That's what Docker does, runs containers. So the first we want to do is we'll make a little comment here and say first we will pull an image. And what image we want to pull? Well, we're going to do a Docker pull. Makes sense, right? Docker. And we're going to pull a thing called whale say. So let's go ahead and pull it. And what you're probably going to see is I don't have this image on my local machine. It's going to say can't be found and then try to pull it. So let's see what happens. pretty cool. Looks like it's going pretty good. Yeah, from the last lab, I think we did some initial testing of our Docker environment after we installed it, but this would be a nice test to make sure your Docker environment is really ready to roll. So you can see where it's downloaded, and if you look at the very top, uses outdated for Placeholder Schema 2. So that's probably going to happen when we do upgrade. And looks like we've got it, so excellent. So how can we make sure we have it? Well, if you want to look at what images you have locally, you can say how to look at which images are local. Well, again, we can start with the Docker command. We want to know images, so we'll just type Docker images. And we'll go ahead and run that. And you can see we have a lot of images on this machine. But here is the one we're looking at. There it is. So pretty good there. You're probably saying this is pretty cool. We pulled an image. We verified the image that we pulled down is local to our machine now. But now I want to create a container based on an image. So run the container. So here, Docker run our image name, whale say. And what do we want the whale to say? We want to say Corvette. Let's go ahead and do a clear screen there. Let's run our commands. I think I made a little mistake here. We have to preference what we want it to say with cal say first. So now let's try that. Let's see what happens. There we go. Now we got our, which is what it ran. We got a picture of a whale, the Docker whale, and it says Corvette. So pretty good there. Now what we did here was we took an image and we created a container. Many times you're going to want to create your own image in Docker. And you do this by creating a Docker file. A Docker file contains steps that Docker will follow to start from a base image and build your image. These steps range from adding files to installing software or setting up networking. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a Docker file that will create the whale say image. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I did was open up Notepad and I typed these 3 lines. Feel free to type these lines, or I will also include them in the description of the lab, so you can just cut and paste. Let's explain these 3 lines here. The first one will instruct Docker which image to use as a source image. The next step is the command to run add new functionality to our image. And you see images are generally built on layers. And you will see that one that's being built. You'll see actually layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, etc. So that new function or image. In this case, we're going to be updating the apt repository and installing an application called Fortunes. And Fortunes is going to give us ad hoc quotes, so the quote will always change. Then the final command is just saying, telling Docker which command to execute when the container is being built. All right, so to save a Docker file, you just save it as Docker file with no extension. So we'll say save. We'll go to downloads and we'll say Docker file, no extension. Save OK. Close that. Come here and change to the directory where we saved it. So in our case, I think it was, I thought it was downloads. Docker Labs would have been a better place to keep it. Or did I save it? Is it user downloads? Let's see. Downloads. Oh, it just says downloads. Yeah, user Dave downloads. All right, so if I do a dir, you could see my, I still put a txt extension on it. Let's go fix that. Let's do a dir. Yes, so we just have Docker file. Excellent. All right. So now to create the image, we're going to use a Docker build command. All right, so we're going to say, now if you had to guess what the first command will be in the whole command, let's see. It starts with a D. If you said Docker, you would be correct. And what do we want to do? We want to build. So we're going to say Docker build. And we're going to do a -T so we can tag our image. And we'll call it Smart Whale. And then the period says look for a Docker file in the local directory. The directory I'm in. So this should do it. Looks like it's working. Okay, done in layers, and that'll be important when you in a more advanced stages where you build your images. You generally want to put static information or stuff that does not change, like the operating system, in the beginning of your Docker build document, so the build is faster. So when you build the containers, they build faster. So here we go. It looks like we have our image now. So if we run the images command again, we will see we have Smart Whale. And gives you image ID, created about a minute ago, and the size is 278 compared to the original one, which was 247. So it's grown a little bit. So let's go ahead and, what do you say we go ahead and run our our new one. So we're going to take this command here, paste, and we're going to say docker run smart whale. Yeah, I thought there's our problem right there. We have Docker run Docker. We just want Docker run and the name of our image. So smart whale in this case. There we go. It would be nice to be sure of anything the way some people are of everything. All right, so if we run it again, our fortunes that was in our program here is going to make this saying different every time. So let's run it again. Monday is an awful way to spend 1/7 of your life. It's kind of depressing. It's a running system without you reading what I think you'll be assumed by your presumption. All right, so this really concludes our first lab. I'm calling the first one 0. And in this one, we started with an existing container image and launched it. Afterward, we took that just a step further and built our own container image and started it. So you learn what it takes to build and run a container. So pretty good. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you join me for the next one as we learn more and more Docker as the weeks and months go by. A couple other things I wanted to check out before we actually say goodbye. You should go down to your whale and choose settings and wait a little bit. Here you can see you can start Docker when you log in. I have it. You see I don't have it checked. That's on purpose. Resources. You can specify what resource you want the container to be. The Docker container running everything. We'll skip that for now. The Docker engine, command line, and then here I said it could run Kubernetes, so that's pretty good. And you see I got Kubernetes running as well. And the way you see that is you go back down here, you got Kubernetes, and you choose Minikube. So that's really cool that they added that. You can see you quit Docker Desktop here, you restart it, check for updates. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and install the update. Be interesting to see how long this takes compared to how long it takes for you guys. I'm at 11:45 a.m. Docker has stopped. And it looks like it's going to run the installer. So far, it's been less than a minute. About halfway there, according to the graph. 3/4 of the way, maybe now. Stopping the VM and preparing for update. Downloading. What was it doing before? About a minute now. been 2 minutes. Getting Docker Desktop 2.4.0.0. Pretty easy to remember. Well, on the R's now. Up to 3, close to 4 minutes now. All right, so now we're gonna close and restart. Oh, is it restarting Windows?